Hi, this is Alexis UBF with Precious Little Sleep, and today we are going to be answering questions, got some great questions here, about how to establish independent sleep. So hopefully most of you guys are on the bus already. Sorry, I'm going to center this a little bit, about why independent sleep is so important, right? This is not something that is new to most of us, but just to briefly recap, and this has gone into great depth in the book, and certainly something that is essential for all children, babies, toddlers, preschoolers, is to fall asleep on their own. This is a basic life skill. It is the foundation of good sleep. You have to fall asleep on your own so that you can successfully sleep for long, uninterrupted stretches. If we want our children to sleep well, to get the sleep they need to thrive, to be happy and healthy, and really good sleepers, they have to fall asleep on their own. This is a bridge all of us must cross. And it can happen sooner or later, but the age at which we decide to focus our parenting on this, on helping our children learn this skill, will determine our options and outcomes, and also to a certain level, how much suffering is involved. Because if we wait until they're much older, there's going to be a lot of nightly disruptions and sleeplessness that we all have to kind of power through to get there. So again, falling asleep on our own is a basic life skill, and it's one that we all have to master, and one that we have all mastered. I mean, we're all falling asleep on our own, and hopefully with luck and healthy sleeping children, we're all sleeping through the night. So it's just a basic thing we have to do. It has unfortunately been sort of catastrophized in popular parenting media, and we've made it into this big scary thing, and there's been questions about, like, are they capable? Is this developmentally appropriate? And the answer is, this is all nonsense. Children are capable of falling asleep on their own from a very young age. They are absolutely capable. We see this time and time again. There are studies that support this. They're absolutely capable. So the idea that a child is developmentally incapable of doing this basic biological function of falling asleep on their own before they're, some age is just nonsense. Children are capable of falling asleep on their own at a very early age, certainly 2 to 4 months, right? Certainly. So let's just put to bed the myth that they cannot. They absolutely can. And when our children are waking up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, sometimes 10 times a night, what they're telling us is that the fact that they are not falling asleep on their own is having a dramatic and negative impact on the quality of their sleep. So the best thing for them, the best thing we can do as parents, is to set them up for success and teach them how to fall asleep on their own. That's really key. So then the question is which age and how we go about it. And again, the younger they are, the more options we're going to have. We have more of a buffet, if you will, of things we can do. The older your child gets, the buffet gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's just because they're developing. The more we do it one way, we're sort of, digging our groove, right? If we do something one way for 6, 9, 12 months, we've dug a pretty deep groove. Getting out of that groove is a little harder. When we're talking about a 2 to 4 month old, the groove is pretty shallow. So making adjustments, babies are more flexible. We have some options. So again, Precious Little Sleep book goes into great detail about options and things. Oh, thank you, Susan. And different methods. So I'm not going to repeat that all to you here today, but I am going to take some wonderful questions. If you left me some questions earlier in the week on the post, thank you so much. And we're going to dig in and see what we can do to help these nice moms out. So first, starting at newborn. So newborn is a couple of months old. Tips for creating good habits during the first 12 to 16 weeks. Is it even possible? Naps are so short unless they're on me. So listen, 12 to 16 weeks is the ideal age to establish independent sleep. And I know this mom is like, it's not easy. What are you talking about? She won't sleep unless she's on me. I hear you. I do. But it will not get easier later. So really think about the fact that now is the time, because we have what? We have the shallow groove. It's only been a few months. We can still, make some adjustments too. She's young enough to be pretty flexible. And I know you're like, she's not flexible. What are you talking about? But I promise you, your 3-month-old is more flexible than she will be at 9 months. I promise you this. The other thing is, you're telling me right here, her naps are so short unless she's on you. Why are they so short? They're that short because she falls asleep on you and she's old enough, believe it or not, at 3 to 4 months, she's wising up to you. I know she's itty bitty and adorable, but she's wising up to you. She falls asleep on your body. You sneak her into the bassinet and you creep out of the room. She cycles through light sleep 30 minutes later and goes, "Where'd mom go?" Because she fell asleep with you and she's waking up without you. And that's why the naps are so short. So what happens when the naps are so short? Well, we end up holding babies for all naps. This is a common newborn thing, right? We nap with a child on us. Napping with a newborn on your chest is one of life's great joys. But we have to acknowledge the fact that that is safe only if we are also awake. And when we're parenting a newborn, chances are we are desperately sleep deprived. So the chances of us falling asleep on a chair, a lounger, a couch with an infant on our chest is very high, right? It's very hard to stay awake when you're lying down, cuddled with a newborn, and you're exhausted. So we're going to fall asleep, and now we have safety issues. Significant safety issues. The risk of SIDS on an adult seating surface is 12 times higher than it is anywhere else. So that's a super big bummer. We don't want that. So now is the time to use the swaps outlined in the book to help your child learn how to fall asleep, not on your body. And I promise you it will not get easier later. So what would we do? Well, what do you want to do? You want to put her in the bassinet? You want to shake the bassinet? You want to pat her belly? You want to rub her head? You want to sing songs? You want to pick her up, calm her down a little bit, put her back down, continue the process? That's what you want to do. Will it go easily? It depends. Getting her to fall asleep will take a lot longer in a new way than it does the way that you've been doing it. So if I can, if I put her on my chest, she conks out within 5 minutes. If I put her awake in the bassinet, it might take 20, maybe even 30 minutes. It's a new thing. New things take longer and are harder than doing things the old way. But this is the time to really lean into that for a variety of reasons. That's how you get longer naps. That's how we make sure she's sleeping in a safe space and it doesn't get any easier later. So that's really, this is the 3 to 4 months ideal time to make these changes, because now we can make gradual changes. Now we have multiple tools. We can do the double take. We can do fuss it out. We can jiggle the crib. We can do anything but. We have, we can try it one way one day and one way the next day. We don't have to be super consistent. We can kind of feel it out a little bit. So again, you have a lot of options at 3 to 4 months. Okay, 3-month-old baby. How do you pinpoint the correct bedtime? This is a good one. If baby has always been a terrible sleeper and never consistently has a long stretch of sleep after bedtime. So, one of the ways that our children tell us that we have the correct bedtime, and this is a common challenge, this person is not alone, is that they should be, your correct bedtime should be preceded by the longest stretch of awake time in the day, and it should be the easiest time to fall asleep, meaning, however much effort or time is involved to help your child fall asleep, it should be the easiest time of day at bedtime. So if it takes 20 minutes at nap time, it should take 10 minutes at bedtime. It should be easier than any other time during the day. And typically, bedtime should be followed, even if they're not falling asleep on their own, should be followed by the longest stretch of sleep of the day. Now that may not be that long, may not be wonderful, but it should be longer than other stretches. This person is saying that they're never getting along for a stretch. She says her days are fairly scheduled with wake windows of 1 to 2 hours during the day and 2 to 25 minutes before bed. So I will say some of those wake windows are a little bit long for a 3-month-old, but again, all babies are different. And if that's what works for that child, then I respect that mother's expertise in that area. So the first thing I would say is bedtime at 3 months needs to be happening at the same time, give or take a little bit every day. So if that's not happening organically, and sometimes it doesn't, it's our job to kind of push things into that direction. So it's not clear from the post, but I would say it sounds like things are kind of all over the place. We're following wake times, which is normal at 3 months, but it's time to kind of solidify around a consistent bedtime. Like that's job number 1. 2.25 hours. Yeah, it's probably where they need to be. It sounds ballpark, right on the money. So bedtime has to be same time every day. Depending on how many naps there are, I would look at night sleep duration. Sometimes when we're struggling at night, because we're asking our children to sleep too long, especially when naps can be wonky. We're trying to make up for that wonky nap at time at having a long night, but 2 long nights typically doesn't work out for a whole lot of kids. So again, I don't have enough details here, but those are the things I would watch out. Do we have a consistent bedtime? Is our night no longer than 11 and a half hours in duration? If those things are happening and bedtime is the same time every night, it's probably the correct time. If you're not getting a long stretch of sleep, the answer to most of our night problems is establishing independent sleep at bedtime. And we just went over this in great detail. 3 months is the ideal time. So that's the pivot I would make. I would say if those things are happening, you probably have the correct bedtime, and now it's independent sleep time. And that's where you're gonna get a longer stretch after bedtime. And at 3 months, that longer stretch may not be amazingly long. It might be 5-6 hours. And that doesn't help us sleep particularly well. Let's be honest. I mean, if our children go to sleep at 7 and they sleep 5-6 hours, and we don't go to bed until 10 or 11, we don't get that much sleep before we're getting up with them again, but they are getting a long stretch. So it's the beginning of good sleep. It's not amazing sleep at 3 months. They may not sleep till 6 in the morning, but it's a start. We're starting on the journey towards 9, 10, 11 hours stretches at night. So that's where it begins. It begins. Okay. Okay, independent sleep before 3 months. I'm working towards independent sleep at bedtime, and it's going great. Awesome. But when I try jiggling the crib at nap time, he gets so upset. Should I wait? Press forward. So this is a common issue. This person is not alone. So what happens is at bedtime, sleep drive is really high. There's a biology of sleep that is as powerful as it is at any point during the day at bedtime. So fostering independent sleep at bedtime is easier than it is at nap time. Nap time is kind of dinky and wonky, and it's, a lot harder to fall asleep in a new way at nap time. So the fact that the child is getting angry with them when they try to do things in a new way at nap time is really, really common because their sleep drive is low and change is hard. So if they're used to being held, rocked, fed, nursed, whatever, and you put them in a crib and you just jiggle the crib and go, shh, time for sleep, shh, time for sleep. They're like, what? No, I'm not doing this. Stop this. This is nonsense. Pick me up. Let's do our normal thing. So here's what happens. Here's where people get stalled out on trying to make gradual changes. We put them in the crib. We do whatever swap we're going to do for 5 minutes, let's say, and our child gets really mad because they're like, this is not how we do things. I don't fall asleep in the crib. I fall asleep on your body. I fall asleep on your boob. Pick me up. What are we doing? And we go, oh, this is not working. Okay, they're upset. We pick them up. We do our normal thing, boob, rock, cuddle, feed, whatever, bounce. And then when they're like a limp noodle, okay, now we put them back in the crib. So it's fine. It's fine, by the way, to dabble a little bit when they're younger. This is what's so great about 2-3 months. We can dabble. We can go, oh, this is not working. Pick them up, nurse back to sleep, put them down. Like we can do these things at 2-3 months. We don't have to be rock solid consistent like you do with an older baby. The problem, however, is if our attempts to foster independent sleep are all 5-minute misfires, if always we're picking up after 5 minutes, then we're not really doing anything, right? Then putting them in the crib is just sort of like an unpleasant pass-through step in our nap time routine. So at some point, if you're going to have success at nap time, we have to persist even if it's a little rocky. So if our plan in this case is jiggling the crib, or maybe we're jiggling the crib plus putting our hand on their stomach, plus shushing, plus singing, whatever it is that we're doing, what we're really asking that child to do is fall asleep, not on my body, but in the crib. And that's kind of a big hurdle, and it's okay for that child to be a little upset. So instead of picking them up after 5 minutes and going, oh my gosh, they're so upset, I'm gonna pick them up, we're gonna say, okay, that's okay. This is hard, I'm here with you, I'm helping, I'm touching, I'm patting, I'm shushing, I'm singing, I'm jiggling, I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing. We're not at independent sleep yet, we're just asking you to fall asleep on the crib and not on my body. And I would really commit to that, even if it takes 20 minutes, even if it takes 30 minutes, even if it feels like, oof, this is really unpleasant, because falling asleep on a crib, the crib is the safest place for them. And it's a big jump from falling asleep on mom's body. So you're still there, you're still present, you're still helping, but they're in the crib. And what you'll find is, if you graph exactly how long it takes your child to fall asleep in the crib for 3 days, that it gets dramatically quicker. Right? So it goes from like a 20-minute slog to 12 minutes to 6 minutes, you know, like, so making gradual changes does not always mean that it's easy, but the commitment comes from us saying, it's okay for this to be hard to do things a new way, but we're going to do it a new way anyway. So, yes. Here's another great question. My 10.5-week-old, so just, let's say 2.5 months, makes her recommended wake windows and is usually falling asleep at the 50 to 60 minute mark. She's on 5 naps with a goal of 5 hours of total nap time. I know I should increase wake times, but she's barely making it. When do I stretch the wake windows? So 5 hours of nap sleep is a lot. If she has a shorter night, it might be okay. Maybe she only sleeps 9 hours at night. That's 14 hours a day. That's probably okay for 3 months. So I'm not quite sure where she has a goal of 5 hours or where that comes from. But you know, I follow children's lead. So if your child is sleeping well and isn't struggling to fall asleep or stay asleep and has short wake windows, even if it's a bit unique, I would say, well, it's not a problem. It's fine. So I wouldn't arbitrarily try to stretch wake times if sleep is going well. If sleep is not going well, if this child is up every 45 minutes all night long, then I would really look at 2 things. I would look at the fact that 5 hours of nap sleep is a lot. It might be a touch too much. You might be having night issues because they're just sleeping too much during the day. And of course, sleeping too much means we need to stretch out those wake times, in which case then, yes, I would stretch a little bit. I would use outside time, bright light, and we're not going to go from 50 minutes to 2 hours. It's going to go 50 minutes and try to add 10 minutes. You're getting those sleepy signs at 50 minutes. Push, distract, use bright light, buy yourself another 5 to 15 minutes. Just push a little bit, and expand them gradually. But again, I would expand them because there's a problem, not because you have some sense that they're too short, right? So I trust kids. Kids typically will tell you what's working and what's not. Okay, older babies. So this is where things tend to get a little lively, right? Oh, look, here's somebody. Holly says she's working with her 2-week-old. Great. I mean, look, 2 weeks is typically kind of hard. It's really early. Kids are still crying a lot, high fussy, high needs at that age. But if you're feeling confident, you have an easy kid who's working with you, go for it. Go for it, sure. Okay, older babies. My baby now falls asleep independently. Good for you. After trying a little fuss it out with swap. But they do sometimes cry 10 to 15 minutes. Will this ever stop? It's hard on me seeing she's upset. Yeah, it is hard to see kids who get upset. Now, 10 to 15 minutes is within the realm of normal. So all of us, you, me, all human beings, we don't fall asleep the minute our head hits the pillow. If we do, we are probably egregiously sleep deprived, right? You should not hit the pillow and be conked out. That's actually a concerning sign. It takes anywhere from 2 to 15 minutes to fall asleep. That is a normal human being thing, to take some time. As adults, we don't scream about it, which is great. I mean, we might lie there, we might think about our day, we might think about what we have to do tomorrow, we might, you know, think about the book we were just reading, but, you know, we kick around, roll around, get comfortable for 2 to 15 minutes. So kids do the same thing. So taking 10 to 15 minutes to fall asleep is not a sign of a problem. What sucks is that kids often don't want to go to bed. They don't want to go to nap time. They don't want to miss out on the party. Kids have fear of missing out. The party is happening, and then you walk into a dark room and pull the blinds and turn on the white noise, and they know that the party's still happening. You know, especially at almost 1 year of age. She knows the party's still going. She knows you're out in the living room having snack with her big sister. She knows these things are happening. So she's in the dark room with the white noise going, wah. And so, you know, kids complain. So there's nothing that we can do as parents to make our kids excited about going to bed. We just cannot do this. My 11-year-old complains about going to bed. Like, he's like, I don't want to go to bed. I'm not sleepy. My friends get to stay up later. How come you don't let me stay up later? And then he falls asleep within 10 to 15 minutes. So, you know, he's been complaining about it for 11 years. Your child has just started their journey of complaining about going to bed. So you're at the very beginning. It is hard on you. Look, we want our kids to be happy and laughing and cooing and giggling all of the time. But we can't. Sometimes we have to make decisions that are right for them, even if they're not excited about it. And there's a whole bunch of decisions that we make that they're not excited about. You know, it might be putting on sunscreen, getting vaccinated, being buckled into car seats. These are all things kids aren't super excited about, but we do them anyway. And sleep is one of those things. So if he's falling asleep within 10 to 15 minutes, he's doing his job. Okay, more questions. Oh, well, actually, this is very similar. It's another Power Down Babies. She screams to beat the band, but for 2 to 3 minutes. Falling asleep independently at 5 months, no sleep associations. Yep. So the volume is not telling us anything helpful. If she's falling asleep within 2 to 3 minutes, she's doing her job really well. The volume is just the volume. Sometimes kids scream. Sometimes kids just complain a little bit. Sometimes kids kick the mattress so it makes a big loud boomy sound. Sometimes they chew on their fists quietly. But again, 2 to 15 minutes is a normal human amount of time to go from playing, sandbox, living room, good times to sleep. That's what that does. Okay. I have so many questions. I don't know where to start. Maybe, how did my perfectly trained baby become a totally different, nap-refusing, crazy crying individual the second day she turned 1? Welcome to toddlerhood. Yeah, so as kids get older, one of the many, many skills that they're developing is the skill to protest, to have an opinion about what is happening or not happening, and to communicate their opinion to you with the tools that they have, which at 1 is just screaming. It is possible at 1 that there is a schedule issue, and sometimes schedule issues can be really abrupt. Sometimes it's gradual where, you know, things falling asleep gets a little rockier, there's a little more protesting, and things kind of gradually morph from good to not good, and we go, well, we need to make an adjustment here. Sometimes it's abrupt. We go from the schedule worked one day and then it didn't. So if the behavior was just kind of like, blah, now everything's terrible, I would wonder about schedule issue, but also welcome to toddlerhood. Okay, so big kids. Actually, somebody had a big kid question here. Let me see, click see more. Let's see if I can answer a live question. It's tricky because they scroll by. Okay, so Shanna asks, my daughter is 3.5 years old. She's been having troubles with sleeping. She's been an amazing sleeper. She will wake 1 to 4 times a night screaming. We've tried going in and she just wants mommy to lay with her. We want her to go to sleep and stay asleep. So at 3.5 years old, hi Shanna, thanks for your question. Could have a lot of issues going on. My first question would be, is she napping? Because this is an age where kids stop napping. And what happens is if we continue napping past the point that we really need a nap, we're undertired. So if your sleep drive is on point, 2 things will happen. You will fall asleep and stay asleep. If you're failing any one of those, we have to start looking at sleep drive and go, what's going on? Is there a sleep drive issue? So a lot of times what happens, and this is common in North America, US and Canada, most daycares will force kids to nap far past the point where they should. And I understand why, and I'm sympathetic, but that's the reality. So we often have kids, especially in daycare and preschool, who are napping far past the age when they biologically need the nap. And when that happens, and it may be institutional because that's the school and that's how it works, we're sort of stuck with it. When that happens, bedtime needs to be later. And it sucks because that bedtime might need to be 9, 10 o'clock at night. So a 3.5-year-old, 4-year-old who's napping, who doesn't really need a nap, may be up until 10. So in this case, Shanna's child, she doesn't mention problems at bedtime, sounds like she's rocking the falling asleep part, but failing the staying asleep part. So my first thought is this is a schedule issue, and she needs, if she's napping, we either need to stop napping, if that's an option. If we can't do that because of reasons, then bedtime probably needs to be significantly later. And I think what you would find is if you kept her awake later and pushed bedtime back a lot later, the waking up in the middle of the night would go away. Now, most parents are not happy about this because that's our time, right? We're kind of done being a parent at 7:38, and having a toddler who's now awake with us until 10 o'clock at night is really unappealing. And I absolutely understand that. Like, my time in the evening is, I don't know what you guys are doing in the pandemic. I have found solace in K-dramas. So like by 9 o'clock, I am like planted K-drama time, and it's my escapist fun. And that's how I that's my perk of the day. I don't want to hang out with a 4-year-old at 9, 10 o'clock at night either. But that's kind of where you are. So if we can't stop napping, because sometimes we can't, at least until they're older enough and they age out of the classes where they're requiring naps, we might have to do those things. Great question though. Okay, big kids. Been reading and rereading the book, can't figure this out. 18-month-old sleeps peacefully at bedtime, so she's falling asleep successfully, but will only nap on a human after a lengthy wind down and much rocking and shushing. When placed in the crib, he'll cry at top volume for a full hour if we leave him there, while trying to climb out. It's a party. Frequently goes without naps and is cranky, stumbling around, exhausted. This is my fault for not cleaning when he was younger. I tried gradual weaning for cuddlers, but I can't fit with him in the crib. And if I bring with him in my bed, he starts jumping, wrestling, and playing. Is slip my only option? The short answer is yes. So don't climb into bed with your toddler. And I know she's joking. I hope she's joking. Most cribs have a weight limit of 100 pounds. So they are not, going to support our weight as adults, unless you're like super, super tiny, if you're like a 60-pound adult. But for most of us, do not climb into the crib because it is not structurally safe, and we can actually break furniture or weaken things that might break later, and none of us want that. So don't climb into the crib, even as a joke. I know I've seen pictures of people doing it, and I'm like, don't do that. So here's what happens. You have a toddler who only wants to sleep while being rocked to sleep. And it sounds like the rocking to sleep is a big production. And the reason it's a big production is because he's old enough now to be wise to the fact that you're trying to sneak out. So he's fighting sleep to keep you there. And that's why, if this were like a 5-minute rocking and then put him down for a 2-hour nap, she wouldn't be posting questions because things would be pretty okay. I'm guessing that's not the situation. So gradual weaning is nigh on impossible at 18 months. So this is not a failure on your part. This is not because you're doing something wrong or you're a bad parent. Your son is simply aged out of the point where that is going to be feasible. At 1 on with toddlers, gradual changes almost never work. Almost never. I would just say never. Let's just say never. It never works. So unburden yourself from that expectation. It's not going to happen. So I would say he's 18 months. I would do 2 things. I would get a toddler alarm clock or a nightlight on a timer, and I would call it rest time. And I would make the clock in charge. And I would say, hey buddy, when the light is green, we're gonna rest our bodies. And, I will get you when the light turns blue or whatever your, toddler alarm clock does. So we clarify that we're not getting him out of bed because he's yelling at you. We're getting him out of bed because the clock says so, or the nightlight says so. So we tell him that, like, hey buddy, hey look, the light's blue. It's time for resting our bodies. When it turns green, I'll put you out of bed. And people are always like, my 18-month-old can't understand this. He can. 18-month-olds are really smart. They don't have a lot of language yet, but they understand you. So I would do that. And I would be like, nap is an hour. And if he sleeps, great. If he yells at you for an hour, that's his choice. But we get him out of bed when the clock says so, not when he yells at you. So when the clock turns green or whatever, we make a big fuss and we go, hey buddy, look, the light's green. Rest time's over. Okay, let's go. And then you go about your day. Will he be a how did you describe it? A shambling, exhausted mess? Yes, he will fight nap for a while because sounds like you guys have been at this for a while. So there's a little bit of it's gonna take some time. Hopefully no more than a week, but possibly, it's gonna take some time. But if we remove ourselves and we give him some information to work with, which is how the toddler clock is so helpful, he will nap. He's 18 months old, he will nap. Bedtime used to be great, now it's the bane of my existence. My tot is almost 4. She was trained per your recommendations. We had great results. She slept from 7:30 to 7:30, 12-hour night, lucky you. With 1 late nursing session at, stop nursing at 2. Around her 3rd bedtime, third birthday, not 3rd bedtime, 3rd birthday. At 3 years old, she started fighting and pushing bedtime back and back and back. until now is after 8:30. Okay, I mean, a 12-hour night is amazing, but not all kids can sleep 12 hours. So 8:30 to 7:30 is still 11 hours. She had a consistent routine and was falling asleep independently, but it was an hour before I could get out of there, and her not following me out, she would come out 317 billion times in that hour. So this is a 4-year-old child sleeping 11 hours a night. So what's happened, right? Many of us have been in this situation. This is a really common issue. So kids' job is to not want to leave the party. No one wants to leave the party. So they want to keep the party going. So if they have to leave the party, they want to keep the party going in their bedroom. So this 4-year-old has figured out that leaving is very, very powerful. How does she keep the party going? Well, she leaves a billion times, and that keeps the party going. The party going in this scenario is mom stays in the room. So we're rewarding her behavior with our time and attention. So she is really, really smart little 4-year-old who's figured out how to get mom's undivided time and attention for an hour or longer at bedtime, which is coming out a million times. This is very, very powerful. This gives kids enormous amounts of power. So she's like, you will never leave my room. I will come out. You must stay here. So the problem is we have to take away the power of her coming out. And kids find powers in lots of ways. They find power where they're like, I will scream to beat the band and it will wake up the baby. And so now I have all the power, right? So anytime we have all the power, we have to look at that power dynamic and go, how do I diffuse this situation? Well, we have to take the power away from coming out. So she's 4. These are conversations we're gonna have. We're gonna say, hey, this is not working for me. The rule is we stay in bed. We stay in our room. Let's say that. We stay in our room at bedtime. So what are our bedtime rules? Stay in the room, calm bodies, quiet voices. This is boundaries and bait from the book, right? Straight up. What does she get if she does those things? What's in it for her? What are we gonna reward her with? Well, ideally it's something physical and tangible where we say, hey, here's my little basket of goodies, and we show it. And look, here's my kid's last little sad little Halloween remnants. We go, hey, so every night that you stay in bed, stay in your room, calm bodies, quiet voices, in the morning you get to choose one of these awesome things. And what is in the basket? Little pots of Play-Doh, Matchbox cards, glitter glue, like scratch and sniff stickers, whatever you're into, right? And every night you point that out. If we stay in our room, calm bodies, quiet voices, we get to choose one first thing in the morning. And then when the morning comes around, if she's done those things, we make a big production. Oh, you did it! Let's go pick from the basket. If she didn't do those things, we don't make a big production and we don't make a big lecture and we go, that sucked. We don't get to choose from our basket this morning because there was a lot of yelling and blah, blah, blah last night. Well, we can try again tonight. And then you go on with your day. So that's step 1. You have to re-incentivize. Like, what's in it for her? The second thing is you have to remove her power. So her power right now is she comes out a million times a day. So we go, hey, buddy, the rule is we stay in our room at bedtime. The door stays open as long as you stay in your room. If you want the bedroom door to stay open, you have to stay in your room. Show me, I love these words, show me you have the power. Show me you can handle the responsibility of the door being open. If you come out a million times, I'm gonna have to close the door. So it's very calm, neutral. We're not lecturing, we're not yelling. This is the deal. Come out a million times, I'm gonna have to close the door. If you want the door to stay open, you have to stay in your room. As long as you stay in your room, the door stays open. Does that mean she can stand in the doorway and yell at you? It sure does. She's following the rules. She's staying in her room, door stays open. She comes out, door gets closed. Maybe she comes out, you have one warning. Oh, hey, I see you're coming out of your room. Remember, the rule is we stay in our room at bedtime. If she keeps coming out, we make sure the room is 100% safe, and we put a little toddler lock on the door. And every night she gets another chance to try. Hey, do you want the door to stay open? Great, me too. The door stays open as long as you stay in your room. Now, there's going to be some drama for a while because she's had all the power. She's been in charge, and you're going to take away that power. You're going to diffuse that power. So, yeah, she is not going to just go, oh, okay, Mom, I hear you. You want me to stay in my room? Sure, no problem. That's not going to happen. But it's not your job to fix her feelings. She's going to get pissed at you. And that's okay. Your job is to hold the boundary for the family, which is to say, in our family, we value our health and wellness, and that really requires us to be getting the sleep that we need. And me staying here for an hour is not good for any of us. So we're not going to do this anymore. We need to make a change because that's what our family needs. And that's it. Okay. Enough about that. Here we go. Oh, sorry, and this continuation I didn't realize was on the next page. This child is also waking up in the middle of the night. So yeah, this is just not working. We need to make a change. Oh, Cindy has a great question about a newborn. I do have one last question that I really love, and I feel like it's really appropriate to kind of what a lot of us are dealing with right now. So I'm going to come back to that. But just popping back in, she's an 11-week-old. And they're trying to move nursing half an hour before bed, but he isn't hungry and will just yell at me when I offer. So nursing happens after bath before bugs. So what Cindy is asking about is, from a sleep hygiene perspective, the best thing we can do is have a little bit of a gap between the last feed of the day and falling asleep. Now at 11-week-old, it's not essential. So we're not like in the crisis zone where like, this is really, really important. But as kids get older, she's wise to look down the road and go, as kids get older, if we nurse or feed, bottle, whatever, just prior to falling asleep, even if they fall asleep on their own, it can establish a food equals sleep association, and that can lead to demands to eat at night. So a lot of times when we have a kid who's only eating once at night when they're younger, and we see them getting older and actually demanding more food at night, it's because even though they're falling asleep on their own, that food or sucking, pacifiers, bottles, nipples, whatever, it's all very much linked up in the bedtime routine. So Cindy is wisely looking at all of these people who are struggling with that and saying, I don't want to be one of those people. I want to have really healthy sleep associations from the get-go. I'm going to make this change early. But she's struggling a bit. So the good news is that it's good news that you're aware of this. That's great. It's also good news that you're sort of chipping away at it 11 weeks because it's not a crisis yet, but you're mindful of where this road leads. So kudos to you. Babies won't eat if they're not hungry. So sometimes if we want to make a change, like moving a feeding earlier, we kind of have to shuffle things up in the day so that they are hungry. So if bedtime was, let's say 7, and we normally nurse at like 5 and 6:45, and we want to, that's how we've been doing it, and she seems interested and enthused about nursing it an hour and 45 minutes after her last feeding. If we want to slide that last feeding of the day up, we need to kind of slide other things up as well to have space. Because if it's been 5 to 6:45 and now we're trying to feed her at 6:15, she's had a half an hour or less to kind of accumulate hunger, right? So generally speaking, if we want kids to be hungry earlier at night so that we're not feeding right before bedtime, we kind of have to shuffle up some of the afternoon feedings to create space. So there is a significant enough gap so that they are excited about it, half an hour or 20 minutes before bedtime. So the last question, and I love this one. This is a 7-year-old. So sleep is not something that we just kind of tackle at 3 months and then never have issues with. Again, this is something that we, are going to kind of touch back on multiple points in life for various reasons, all the way through high school and college. This is part of being human. How do you reestablish independent sleep when you fall into bad habits because your 7-year-old is scared of being alone without a parent at bedtime or throughout the night? Our issue started before COVID lockdown, but certainly is worse now. We've been home and doing virtual school since March. The school counselor indicated this is an issue they are seeing a lot more of now during this stressful time. So I'm going to keep coming back to this. I find that people don't want to talk about COVID and parenting because it's depressing, I think, and we just kind of want to forget it and ignore it. But here's the reality. We are parenting in highly unusual times, right? And none of us have chosen this. None of us appreciate this. In a post in the group the other day, somebody was like, this isn't cute or charming. And I'm like, no, none of this is. So the first thing we have to accept is this is the season that we're in. None of us chose this. None of us want this, but it is what it is. And it's okay to accept that it sucks and we can't fix it. I also think it's really important to acknowledge that all of us, to varying degrees and levels, are impacted daily by COVID. We are stressed. We are having sleeping problems as adults, as kids. We are worried. Every outing is like a risk calculus. So there's like a 20% of your brain is constantly now working on this problem, a problem that has no solution. So we are mentally fatigued, we are physically fatigued, we are stressed. I think it's really important to acknowledge that. I think we really want to ignore that all the time because it's like, oh, I just want to pretend like everything's fine. It's not fine. Acknowledge it, own it, and name it. It's also important to acknowledge that emotions are contagious. And this is a well-documented thing. This is not like my woo. This is an actual thing. We pick up on other people's emotional states. We do. So when we're stressed, no matter how much we try to like pretend everything's fine and decorate for Christmas and everything is good, our kids know it's not okay. So their teachers are stressed, their parents are stressed, everybody is worn down on various fronts to some degree. And that's another thing that we need to own and name. And at 7, you can name it. You can name it and label it. Name it to tame it, right? Like, this is a hard time, buddy, and everybody is a little worried, and we're doing what we can and what we need to keep ourselves and our community safe. And it's hard. It's hard for me too. It's okay. So I definitely believe in addressing it head on. Anxiety and depression are sky high right now, sky high. We're going to see studies out for the next 10 years looking at this time. And I think you're going to find that the numbers of postpartum depression and anxiety is through the roof, and just the general anxiety and depression is through the roof. So the fact that the school counselor is saying they're seeing a lot of this is 100% true. 100% true. So the anxiety, the worry, the fear of a seven-year-old is all completely normal and understanding. The problem here was, first of all, I mean, if you want to sleep with your 7-year-old, that's fine. Like, I'm not judging. I'm assuming the question comes because it's not working for them. The problem here is when kids have big feelings, which of course are having big feelings. When we sleep with them, sometimes the message is, you're only okay if I'm here. I make it okay. You can't handle these big feelings. Only I can fix it for you. And that's really my issue here. Not the sleeping with, I mean, if you want to sleep with your 7-year-old during a pandemic, go for it. I have no problem with that. But the messaging is where I get into issues. And candidly, I will tell you, I am the parent of a high anxiety child. So I know where you're coming from and I know what you're dealing with. But the message of you're only safe when I'm here and you can't handle these feelings, only I can solve these feelings for you, is where I would raise the flag to say, maybe you want to reconsider this. So I would name it to tame it. Say, it's okay to have worries right now. A lot of people have worries. I have not found, honestly, a lot of great kids' books about worries, but there are some. So you can start reading books to name it. What is it? What is it? What happens when our worries gets too big? What do we do with these feelings? I would also think that this is a great time to really start practicing and dealing with those feelings. We need to have some skills. And look, some kids aren't into yoga. I get that. But yoga, belly breathing, box breathing, using meditation apps like Headspace or Calm, even during the day. It does not have to be at bedtime. Like we could say, hey, after lunch, I'm struggling with my feelings, and I would really like you to do 10 minutes of Headspace with me. Just to try to create some space and some awareness and kind of some family mindfulness about those big feelings. And talking about them at bedtime. Bedtime skills are things like, again, at 7, mindfulness, deep belly breathing, telling yourself a different story. At this age, we can do a lot of things. We can start talking about our worries. We can have 5 minutes where he tells you about his worries and you write them all down, and then you guys tear up the paper into little pieces. If you're really, really concerned, maybe your school counselor can refer you to a therapist for some Zoom sessions to help give him some skills. So that's what I would work on, regardless if you want to sleep together or not, is giving him some skills and some tools to say, it's normal to have these big feelings. It's okay to have these big feelings. How are we going to handle them? Because we need to have some tools beyond mommy fixes it. All right, I'll get off that soapbox. So thank you so much for these questions, guys. This was super, super great. And I love the questions. And I love that you guys are really, really thinking about things. You're thinking about younger sleep, establishing healthy habits early. You're thinking about good sleep hygiene. You're thinking about starting early where you can be more flexible. You can try different techniques. You don't have to lock in on one. You have more options. The buffet is bigger. All great stuff. And it really fills my bucket to see so many people mindfully and actively taking steps towards healthy sleep for their kids. So kudos to you guys. Thank you for joining me for today. We'll do this again soon, I promise. Bye.